Goedendag, good day. How are you lovely human being feeling at this moment? My name is Phylicia Joy Kloes, and in today's video we're going to talk about the social climate inside a classroom. So the reason we want to set up the social climate inside of a classroom is to make sure that we create a lovely bonding group. The children that come into class will learn to take up a role inside of the classroom. And this happens within humans kind of naturally. Even these young children who are 4 to 6-year-olds in my classroom will take up a space in the social ladder, so to speak. And me as a teacher, I try to provide the children with guidelines, and I try to help them to form friendships or positive bonds with one another. One thing to enhance the social climate at the beginning of the school year is to do a lot of Energizers. An Energizer is an activity in between lessons that allows the children to move around and to do activities together. For example, an Energizer could be to all clap the same rhythm. An Energizer could be to find a buddy who has something similar. Like, for example, at the beginning of the school year, I asked, find someone who also went on a plane. Find someone who also went to a certain country. Find someone who also has the same favorite food as you or the same favorite color as you. So these Energizers are short exercises that the children can do in between lessons, and it helps them form bonds as well as create positive connections with their other classmates. The Energizers are also really helpful because young children learn to enhance their attention span. And when I notice that the attention span is going down a little bit, I can put one of these Energizers into place and let the children move a little bit and then get back to what I was originally wanting to do. There are a lot of fun Energizers online, so I would definitely recommend for you to look online to see what all there is. Something else that enhances the social climate is for the children to learn about emotions, to learn about social situations, and I like to do that through either books. There are a lot of fun books that I read for the children that are about the social climate, or about how to work together, how to play together, how to solve problems. If something happens that is not so fun, how to react to that. And by reading these books, the children will also answer my questions, and throughout the questions and the book, the children hopefully learn to make certain emotions their own, or to figure out, oh wait, it's maybe not so handy dandy to not let someone play with you. So for example, through the book Mag ik meedoen? I'm pretty sure a lot of books are also available in English. Through the book Mag ik meedoen, which is translated to Can I Join You? The children hear a story about animals who have their own club, and one of the animals is not allowed to join the club because this duck is not, for example, roaring like a lion. At the end of the story, the duck creates his own club, and the lion and the elephant also want to join his club because it's more fun to do things together. Another book that I really like to read, but I do that throughout the school year, is the Emotions Monster. Because this book is beautiful. The children are really amazed with how the pages open up beautifully when you have the 3D version of the book. They learn to name the feelings that they feel. Young children need help with putting names on feelings. A lot of young children respond physically when they don't have the words to use. For example, if a child grabs the toy that he was playing with, some children respond physically. That's also a part of the young children's behavior. More on that in the next video. However, when we teach the children to use tools to deal with that, for example, to say, hey, stop that. You didn't ask me if you could borrow it. Can you please ask me and give it back to me? If the other child doesn't do that, of course, they can come to the teacher and then we'll guide them through the process. But that is very helpful. Something else that is really nice to do is to use the hand dolls to, for example, play out certain social activities. For example, when 2 hand dolls are fighting, and then ask the children in between the show, okay, so what is happening? Why is this one hand doll upset? Why is this other hand doll doing this? What is going on? And then throughout the play, they can see what is happening. We talk about it, and then we talk about what is the handiest option to deal with this. Of course, you do need to guide it at first a little more, and throughout the school year, I can let it more and more be on the children's side. So they can come up with more ideas. But at first, as a teacher, we really want to show how it's done. And that brings me to the next point. I do this every single day. I am a big example for the children. So if, for example, if I accidentally go with my elbow onto a child, I say, "Oh, I'm so sorry. Are you okay? Can I help you by rubbing the spot that I hit?" In Dutch, it's a different wording, but I can't come up with that right now. And because I show the children that's how I do it, they often copy that kind of behavior. And then when they accidentally, for example, playing outside and hit someone with the bike, they say out of themselves, "Oh, sorry, can I help you? Can I make you feel better?" The children need to learn to ask these questions and to learn to say, "I'm sorry," because it's not something that a lot of children just do by themselves. Of course, they will do if parents also do this at home a lot, but in a classroom with currently 21 children, I need to make sure that I embody the way of social interaction, because children look up at me and see me as an example most of the time, even though I'm not a part of their social group, which is also interesting. I am a part of the class, but I'm not a part of their social group. So therefore, it's really important to set up the social climate really well. What is also really helpful for me as a teacher to do is to compliment all the behavior that I wish to see. "Oh, wow, how great that you said sorry to him. Oh, wow, how kind of you that you brought the sad child to the teacher." I also do compliments like schouderklopje or a pat on the shoulder. And the children really like to have that compliment because they like to get compliments. I mean, who doesn't? But I try to encourage them a lot. When they do the behavior that I want to see, they get a schouderklopje or a pat on the shoulder, or they get a lot of compliments throughout the day. Even when behavioral wise, for example, a child has a timeout and a child walks to the timeout spot, I even compliment them then, because any positive feedback they can get, they learn more from than the negative feedback. But more on behavior and how I teach the children what the preferable behavior is in another video. I'm not sure when that's coming out, but stay tuned for that one when you want to learn more. Another part of the social climate is to set up the school year. And this partly has to do with classroom management, but also a little bit with social climate. For example, when the children start in the school year, I teach them how I want the road to be when they are walking from point A to point B. I want them to hold a hand. I want them to have their hand by themselves. I want them to walk peacefully, to keep their hands to themselves, and I want them to be using a lower voice. I don't usually ask them to be fully quiet in the hallways because sometimes they see something, and I think it is okay for them to quietly talk to me, like whisper, like, "Oh, what is that, miss?" Another thing that I teach at the beginning of the school year that also helps the social climate is my bell. I use a bell when I want to say something to the children. So it's just a little bell. I click the button and then the children have their silent finger, is what I say. And that's also something that needs to be practiced. When I don't have that bell, I clap twice, and then I teach the children to have a silent finger. And these things are more classroom management kind of things. However, when I keep complimenting the children, they at some point start to help each other and say, "Oh, you have to hold your chair like this," because that's also a lesson that I teach at the beginning of the school year, how to hold your chair. And the children can feel more self-aware of all the things that they can do, in addition to all the compliments I give. Then another social climate / classroom management tip I do is to teach the children how to sit in a circle, because when we listen to one another, I want all the other children to be quiet. I want the children to learn how to ask for attention in a preferable way. And this also comes back with how to grab work, how to make the work, and how to put the work back. More on that also in another video when I talk more about giving the lessons themselves. Something that I have learned is that young children are very sensitive to energy. And when I am stressed, they can feel that. And sometimes I want too much, and I'm in my mind thinking, oh, I want to teach all these lessons. And children get busier and busier, and I'm thinking to myself, why are they so active? But it's because the stress in my body is sensible. So as a teacher, it's important to first take a look at myself. Am I feeling okay? Am I maybe a little irritated? Did I sleep okay? Am I wanting too much from these children at this moment in time? Am I being kind to myself? All these questions can do something with your mindset and with your behavior. So when I notice that I want too much, I make sure I just take a breath and notice that I'm centering my energy a little bit. And usually that reflects in my classroom as well, to where the children are a little more quietly. They usually are a little more at ease. It's not as busy, because young children are sponges to energy. And a lot of adults, I feel like, forget this, because we tend to be a lot in here if we forget to feel. However, young children can feel so much. So taking a look at yourself and making sure you yourself have like a glow up has a positive impact on your own energy, which has a positive impact on your social climate in your class. This also kind of touches on mindfulness. I have been studying to become a child trainer in mindfulness. More on that in another video. However, when you practice the mindfulness yourself, or even try it with the children, that also enhances the peace that is felt in your classroom. When a child is sad and comes to me, I often hear them talk, well, with a lot of emotion. And it's helpful for me and for the child to first take a breath. And I often do this. If you want to join me, join. You could also go back. Why I do it with my hand is because it makes it visual. And if a child doesn't want to copy me, that's okay. If I do it, the child is often already doing more breathing exercises or focusing more on the breath. And that helps to calm down. And then for the child to say in a slower manner, what is up? What had happened? I ask the child, how do you feel? Okay, for example, you feel sadness. Where in your body do you feel sadness? In your tummy? Okay, am I allowed to make you feel at ease? Yes? Okay. Am I allowed to make you feel at ease? No? Okay, then I won't do it. Can I blow a kiss on it? Yes? Okay. Now the kiss is going to make you feel better. Do you want to stay longer on my lap, or do you want to go play or go work or go do whatever we were doing? I try to make the children learn to make sure that they can always use their breath to make themselves feel more at ease. And this is only one part of mindfulness. Like, mindfulness is way more than this. But like I mentioned, stay tuned for that. However, for the social climate, it's really, really helpful to put a little bit of mindfulness here and there. Something else that's really helpful for the social climate is to have meetings with the parents of the new children. Parents know their children best. And of course, it's in a different setting because it's at home or at the grocery store or wherever. I'm only in class with the children for a couple of hours in the day, and then after that, the children leave. However, it's important for me to have a really, really great connection with the parents, because we as a triangle want the best for the child. Child is on top, the teacher and the parents are pillars of that really important triangle. And when I, for example, meet a new child, before they start in class, they first have a meeting with me. I show the children the classroom, and then I have a conversation with the parents while the child either plays or sits with us. That also shows a lot to me whether or not a child is a little nervous to meet me in the class, whether a child is capable of grabbing work. I also see how the parents respond. Like, for example, when we're having a conversation and a child is saying something, I can see the behavior that the parents use with the children. For example, some parents will respond right away. Some parents will say, I'm talking to the teacher right now, you have to wait a little bit. And all these pieces of information can be helpful. Sometimes throughout the school year, when I notice, like after a month, like, oh, this child, for example, is not capable yet of putting her own jacket on, or is not capable yet of putting words to what this child is meaning. And then I just want to get a little quick check-in to see, okay, is this behavior something that the parents recognize, or is it something that is only seen in class? Because that's possible too. It's important to have all these bits of information to get to learn about the child in the best way possible. I want to briefly mention the young child. Stay tuned for a more in-depth video next week on the young child. However, it is important to learn the group you're teaching. The 4 to 6-year-olds, as I mentioned before, can react physically when something is happening. A lot of times, as adults think that certain behavior is normal. Like, for example, to grab your bag, put something in it, and close the zipper. But to these young children, these need to become lessons. Because a lot of things where we think, well, that makes total sense. Doesn't a child know that? I'm teaching those lessons. I'm teaching the lessons how to hold a chair. I'm teaching the lessons to push the chair towards the table. I'm teaching the children to sneeze and cough inside of the elbow. I'm teaching the children every time we come from outside or when you come to school, you wash your hands. You dry it off afterwards. So the young children definitely require a different take than teaching older children when it comes to social climate. If I just keep it kind of abstract, and for example, I'm talking about bullying. I'm just giving an example. And I would say, okay, so if you say to someone, you are not a nice word, then there's a problem. And if someone else says it back, the problem becomes bigger. I'm already making it more visual right now. However, it's better to make it even more relatable by using items, by using the handles, by using the book with the images, by asking all these questions, by using, for example, situations as examples. Some children, especially young children, but also even older ones, need social subtitles because some children haven't learned to look beyond themselves yet. And this also is a part of the young children's mindset. Young children are more egocentrical, and that's not in a bad way. That's just how young children grow up. And then at some point, they learn to play not just next to one another, but they play together. At some point, their brain halves work together more, and that allows them to be able to capture more social differences and to have a bigger understanding of everything around them. So I've already mentioned Energizers. However, I want to just touch on group activities once more because we cannot underestimate these group activities, especially at the beginning of the school year, but also throughout the school year. So I already mentioned some of the Energizers where they have to find a mate who has something in common with them. There are a lot of other games that you can do that enhances the group to become more closely, and it enhances the social climate. An example is, for example, to practice their names. So for example, at the beginning of the school year, I learned a song from my coworker. I'll sing it in Dutch and put the subtitles below so you know what I'm saying. But this song we'll sing, for example, The Circle Before Lunch. And it goes as follows. Goedemorgen Phylicia, fijn je weer te zien. Wie zit er naast jou? Ken je haar misschien? Or if it's a boy, ken je hem misschien? Because him, her is also something that they really need to practice. And then that keeps going. So that way the children practice their names and the children learn the song. Something else we do is clap names. For example, Phylicia. And then the children copy, and then the next child next to me I'll first model how to do their name, and then the children copy. That's also something that we do. Another name game that we do is, for example, have a ball, and then I say my own name, Phylicia, and I throw it to you, and then I'll say your name. And then the game continues. That sometimes is a little tricky because the children who get that task are capable of understanding a more complex assignment. And you might think, what are you talking about? A complex assignment. Saying two names can be complex for some children. Some children only say their own name. Some children just throw the ball and forget to say a name. And that's all okay. We can help and guide the children through the school year to learn to make the behavior their own. And it's so cool to see for the children to be capable of making more complex assignments more their own throughout the year. Something else is really nice is to play a quiet game. For example, one child is in the middle of the circle and I point to children who can sit behind the child who is sitting like a little ball in the circle, and this child who is in the middle has to count how many children are behind him or her. And then I ask the child, without looking, how many children do you think are behind you? And then the child says a number, and then the child is allowed to turn around and count to see whether or not they were right. Another quiet game that's really nice to do is have a bell, and then the bell goes around the circle without making sound. That also requires focus, motory skills, a group activity bonding situation. That is a very interesting way to say it. Something else that's fun that has to do with partly quiet but not really quiet, and the names, is someone sitting in the middle of the circle having their hands in front of their eyes sitting like a ball, and then I point to someone and that child is on the back doing tick, tick, wie ben ik? And then they can guess who is behind them saying that. It also helps with practicing the names and learning to hear who is behind them. Something else that's really fun, however it is a little bit difficult, is to have a hula hoop. And we all are holding hands in the circle. And then the children have to make the hula hoop go around without letting go. So it requires teamwork, communication, motory skills, and a lot of times this assignment is done in groups that are older. However, usually when I help, they're capable of doing that, and they think it's really fun because it's really a skill, to be honest, to do that. And it's fun to see how the children do it. Some children notice right away, oh wait, this is how I have to do. I have to put my foot through, then my hand. Some children just stand and they have their head through and they're like, oh wait, how do I keep going? And then I just hold back a little bit just to see if someone else can take my spot really and help. And I also do a lot of team building activities through the materials. Like for example, I have the counting beads, and I give one bead to each child, and I'm telling them, keep it a secret, keep it to your tummy so no one can see. So they just hold it and then can secretly see themselves. And then when everyone has one, they can find their mate. I do that with a lot of different Montessori materials throughout the school year. So that way they can find their teammates and, connect. And I can also see who is socially a little bit farther and, for example, can guide other children. And it's so beautiful to see that usually the older children in my class take up that role kind of automatically. Some don't, and that's okay too. I mean, some children are more shy, are more introverted, or just don't feel like they need to take up that space, but some children do, and it's really fun to see. Each child is okay. Each child can be themselves and grow accordingly. Of course, there are a lot of other group activities that you can do with children, and definitely look online to see all the fun things that you can do. I've only mentioned a couple, but there's so much more that we can do with the children, even with the age 4 to 6-year-olds. To enhance the social climate. I hope you enjoyed this video. If so, please leave a thumbs up. Leave a comment below of what Energizer you like to try out or what you want to do. Or if you want to talk about anything else, that's okay too. And I hope to see you in next week's video where we're gonna go in more depth about the young child, specifically the 4 to 6-year-old child. Thank you for watching. Bye-bye.